Right. It says we are live streaming. I'm just going to confirm and then we'll get started, guys. All right. Hi, guys. Welcome to our second episode of Things We Don't Talk About. And I have my co-host Madhuri with me, and we also do have two guests with us. And I'm going to let them do the introduction. But just to give you a gist of what are you looking forward to in our conversation today, we are going to talk about travel, solo travels, picking up the bag, packing it, and just going. And how easy or how difficult is it? How do we define solo travels, and how do we think about it, and what do we wonder about in silence when we are even thinking about travels? That is what we're going to talk about. So everything that we choose not to talk about is what we're going to talk about. So quickly we'll get through the introductions, and then we will start with what we are here to discuss. So I think if Gauri, you can start with your introduction, and Mala, if you could also share who you are, and then we just go from there.
Well, hi, good evening, and thanks for joining in today. My name is Gauri Savadi, and I'm really thankful to Snehal and Madhuri for giving their time, investing their time in me today. I am a solo traveler, have been for, for 30 plus years. I am the kind of person who just takes a bag and says, all right, I'll see you in 3 days or 10 days or to 1 month, in fact, as well. Yeah, so that's who I am. I'm sure you'll get to know me more through this conversation.
Perfect. Thank you. And Mala, would you like to just share a little bit about yourself?
Yes, thank you, Snehal. I'm very, very happy to be here. So I have lived in about 9 different countries across continents, and I moved to India in 2006 when I started my own business. Today, I am an executive coach, and I work mostly with women to overcome any challenges that they face in the workplace.
Perfect. Thank you.
Thank you.
Awesome. So as I was saying, today's topic is about talking about solo travels. And while this topic gives me a little bit of comfort, it also has a little butterflies in my stomach, because I know every time I have to even pack and go somewhere with my family, till date, it is like, oh my God, why? Why do I have to do this? So I want to know what others are thinking, and I'm also looking forward to you guys telling us what you are thinking about travel as you're listening to our conversations. I think Madhuri has some statistics to talk about when it comes to, how travel world really works. So if you would like to share that with us, Madhuri.
Absolutely. And, today's topic is so exciting that I had my wallpaper up. That's the place I want to go. That's my aim, to travel. So that's why I'm here, eager to know what can I do? When can I travel? And, as soon as this topic was announced, I kept getting these messages from friends and family, what's it about? We also want to jump in. We also want to do the solo travel. But here are some statistics, and quite interesting when we started the research, right? There are 46% who said freedom, independence, and the chance to do what they want to and when they want to is the reason they want to do solo travel. 22% said they weren't willing to wait for others. Typically you have this, discussion. I want to go to, say, Ladakh, and somebody says, no, I want to go to Goa, or, wherever. And then lands up that you land up saying, okay, we will go to Goa, for example. So that's the 22% who said that they weren't willing to wait for others. They wanted to go where they had, whichever destination they had in mind. And there were 15% who said they wanted to do solo travel to actually challenge themselves and gain some confidence. And that's quite interesting for me, because when we talk about women and confidence, you see where all it comes from, right? I mean, just traveling alone can make you confident. So solo travel lets you go and travel wherever you want to. And these are the statistics, but I'm eager to hear from Gauri. What do you think? What are your views on these stats?
All right. So I'm going to break it down, the two words, solo and travel, for you guys, because I think travel itself is quite misconstrued. Travel essentially does not mean that you have to travel out of the country or, go far, far away. You all ladies are definitely traveling to, say, in Singapore, cold storage, that's a departmental store, or you are traveling to pick up your kids. So technically you are taking a journey, right? It's about taking a journey. Well, travel, of course, to us in common words means getting on a bus or a transport. And airlines is something that, of course, we what do you call it, traveling to over faraway destinations. And the second word, the solo. Is traveling actually solo, really? Because when you are traveling, think about it, you are meeting, say, the cashier at the departmental store, or let's talk about traveling on an aeroplane. You are meeting people at the airport staff, then you are meeting the air stewardess. So you are actually meeting a lot of people in that journey that you would be taking. So I think we need to break it down and really make it simpler for us to understand what is solo travel. You're not technically going in a remote jungle, you know what I'm saying? So you will be meeting a lot of humans on the way. Yeah, that's what I think.
What do you say, Mala?
So there were two words that Madhuri, you used, which resonated very much with me: freedom and confidence. Freedom is why I actually decided to take a trip on my own. Confidence is not what I set out to do, but that happened along the way. And it's interesting because you may be someone who's very happy to be by yourself. You may be very comfortable being alone. You're not lonely in your aloneness. For me, I made a solo trip, my first one, about 20 years ago. And it's something that I really wanted. So I put the intention out there. So I'm sure that backdrop of yours, Madhuri, that's going to happen for sure because you put it out there. But the thing is, so I put the intention out there and I'm very excited, super excited. However, and it was a long trip. So I was really looking forward to it. It was a 2-week break. As I got there, I realized I'm not comfortable being alone when I'm actually not alone and I'm with other people. There's a difference in being comfortable in yourself when you're actually got no one else watching. But when you're sitting in a restaurant, in a cafe, or you're walking the streets, or you're at a movie, so I became very conscious that there are people around me and I'm conscious that they know that I'm alone. So for me, that was my journey. It was the journey to go out and have some freedom. And there was a journey within the journey. So what happened in that, I actually took another trip in my head, which was be comfortable with who you are. And also that's where the confidence, that second word came in, where although I got the freedom, I also got the confidence that, fine, it's okay. You don't have to look like you're constantly busy and distracted, even when you're in a crowd. So it's a trip. I've made many solo trips after that, but that one sticks out the most for me.
Wow. I like what you said, Gauri, when it comes to separating the word solo and travel, because that's true, right? There are so many times if we have a responsibility of something and we step out, we don't feel that much alone because we're so, thinking about all the tasks to do. And, we don't even give it a thought that, okay, I'm going to do this alone. Wherein when it comes to, I think, fun or doing something for self, I think that's where the word solo starts taking weightage or value. Okay, otherwise it doesn't at times. But again, I think it comes from a space of what Mala says as well. It's about, do other people know I'm alone? And then all the beliefs and thoughts that we have been grown up with, that, don't talk to strangers, things are, not safe out there, and so on and so forth. And I think sometimes that also takes over. Am I equipped enough to take care of myself? And I feel sometimes that fear also seeps in. For me, I wouldn't say it was a solo travel, but the first thing that I ever did alone was going and watching a movie in 2004. Nobody wanted to watch it, okay? And I was saying 2004, it was times when I don't know if I had even gone into that location or area where the movie was available, because it was a Telugu movie, which again, nobody was interested from my, background, because everyone was like, we don't know the language. I was so fan of the guy, so I wanted to go and watch the movie. And for me to take that trip, all the way from bus, going across the town and just sitting in a movie theater with no one, because it's supposed to be a group thing, right? I think somewhere we make it a group thing. And that itself for me was so overwhelming. But by the time it was interval time, I think somewhere I developed that confidence. I don't care what people think about me, I can do this. However, that journey of just reaching there, I think that was crazy. There were so many times when I had the ticket in my hand and I wondered, should I just, take a U-turn? It's okay. If money is wasted, it's okay. I don't have to do this by myself. So I think it's not about the thought of travel. I think it's the thought of feeling that you got to do this by yourself, and are you equipped enough to handle yourself in the situation? I think the biggest fear is more about handling yourself rather than anything else and anyone else here. I don't know. I'm open to you guys sharing your bit.
No, Snehal, it is so true. Handling yourself, right? I mean, I remember this thing. So the only solo travels I've done are for work purpose. Okay, because I had to. This is not because I wanted to, but I had to. And wherever I went, it was probably in all the comfort zones, in all the 5-star hotels. So nothing to worry about, right? No safety, nothing on my head. But yet I remember going into the hotel room, being really scared of being alone in that room, keeping all the lights on, really being bad to the environment, keeping all the lights on, all the television on until I fell asleep. So I think it's overcoming that fear also, Snehal. Like you said, U-turn, maybe take a U-turn and just go back, I don't have to travel.
That felt easier. It was like, okay, nobody's seen me, nobody knows what I did, nobody knows I failed. Let's just go back. But yeah, Gauri, I'm not sure if I'm right here, but you have traveled a lot and you have also communicated with a lot of people who do these things on a regular basis. So what does your experience say like?
I think you both have validated a lot of points here. Self-confidence and self-belief is where it all begins, in my opinion. Just knowing yourself. So when I sent my intro to Madhuri, I said, you are your best friend. And you need to believe in that, because there are so many moments in a daily life, there is nobody around you. It could be your spouse, your children, or your parents, the people who we have grown with. But are we really together? Are we really alone? Is a question that something every individual should ask themselves. And once you know and you're confident at a certain age, it's also age related. Nowadays, when I go on solo travels, in fact, I see a lot of youngsters coming out. I mean, this has been a trend in the Western world for almost, we know that, children take gap years and they travel the world and all that. But now I'm seeing a lot of Indian children also telling their parents that, okay, I'm just going to quit my school or something and then travel for a year. And it's quite a lovely, episode. I mean, for them to meet new people and all that. And the kind of challenges they would go through, and come back a rich person. So I equate all this experience to richness. So if I travel and come back, I'll tell my family, oh, I'm like $2 million rich or $1 million rich, because that's the only way I can really express, that I feel so fulfilled. So if you're seeking fulfillment, yes, it is about being comfortable in uncomfortable. Madhuri said you are not comfortable to travel. So yeah, you will be put in places where you don't like the food, you don't like the environment or the weather, but you need to do what you got to do. So yeah, evaluating a lot of things. Risk factors need to be evaluated as well. I mean, at today's day, I would love to go to Ukraine and Russia, but should I be traveling right now there? No, right? Yeah, so you have to definitely step by step break it down and understand what you want to do. Yeah, I'll leave it to Mala to fill it in.
Yeah, so I love the word, or you've used, richness, and it's truly that, because when we go on a trip, it's about exploring what's more, widening your horizons and seeing, having those experiences which are out of your routine. And I think for me, that richness comes in when it's more in the head, it's also in the mind. Because are you taking yourself along on that trip? Are you actually taking your mind along on that trip? because I think for me, the full experience of richness comes when my mind is also with me physically, because sometimes where mind is left at home, and that happens through different reasons. You know, the thing about what we spoke about being alone, the fears you addressed, Madhuri, or Snehal, the fears you addressed. And of course, one has to still be discerning. But sometimes, you know, we're so engulfed by the fear that the fear itself sort of escalates and plays havoc in our mind. So is the fear validated? Of course, we've got to be sensible. Where movies are concerned, you know, you shared that, Snehal. I remember having this chat with my sister, and she's a Bollywood movie buff, and she would literally go to every movie. She'd even go twice, 3 times, and she was very happy to go on her own. I could never sit through a movie on my own. And she would not understand why this was such an issue for me. So even that, going for a movie on my own was a big thing, that I'm going in and it wasn't just a journey, it was actually sitting there for 2 hours, 3 hours on my own with no one around me. I'm absolutely alone. Do I look alone? I am alone. How am I feeling alone? So I felt more alone than when I was in a crowd, than I feel alone when I was just on my own, if you know what I mean. So I think it's more about, you know, looking at what you really want and taking your mind with you where you want to go.
So, Mala, while I agree with what you're saying, I'm so curious to know, you said you did your first trip ever, okay, which is 20 years ago. And I can only imagine what times it was then, because it wasn't as easy as how it is for us today to just say, hey, I'm going out, and, you know, you just go. But there were questions, and there were, you know, higher number of beliefs that made us stay back rather than step out. So what made you, you know, take that decision to, okay, I'm going to do this, and you just, you know, I'm pretty sure you just didn't do it. There's something that happened in between that journey of you deciding till you packed your bags and you actually left. So tell us a little bit more about that part. What happened? How did you talk yourself into doing it?
So you're right, Snehal. Something pushed me to go. There were things happening in my life at that time where I really felt the need. It was a combination, if I may say so, of some sort of burnout, some sort of challenges, wanting to think clearly, being confused about a few things, and just that space where I really wanted to go and be on my own for a bit. And I knew that this is the time I have to do it. So when you go through something, there comes a time when it actually just stares you in the face. Do you want to do it right now? Because if you don't do it right now, it's not going to happen. So the cost of the pain has to be larger than your comfort of staying put where you want to be. And that's what happened to me. And, you know, then honestly, what it is actually just getting, I mean, it wasn't online then, I think, but I think actually getting on a phone call and booking that seat, booking that ticket, getting committed. And for me, I did that step. I did it without thinking too much. And I said, I've got to take this. And of course, my family was very happy. They said, go, mom, go. My husband said, go, you know, take that break. And once I committed, then no matter whatever fears you may come up later, you don't want to back out. You don't want to let yourself down. You don't want to tell the world you've canceled on yourself. So it was things that push you forward, how much you want it.
Wow. And Gauri, how did it start for you?
Actually, travel has been an integral part. I think growing up as well, your nature and your nurture combination really plays a huge part. And thankfully, because of my father's work, he was in the paramilitary forces, we traveled every 2 years. So in India, when I was living there, I must have changed at least 13 schools till my high school. So that was a lot of places that we have seen in India. So the unsettlement feeling was always there. And thankfully to my husband, we settled in Singapore for 25 years now. And this is the only country and only city that I know much about than even being in India. So it was always ingrained. So travel, and I in fact did my bachelor's degree in tourism. So you can imagine that.
That explains a lot.
That does explain a lot. However, of course, I worked for a very short period in that industry and came out and did a lot of other things. Yeah, but I do want to say, Mala used the word now. So if you meet a lot of older generation people in their 70s, in their 80s, in their 90s, and you ask them this question, I've been very curious to, ask them, uncle, auntie, what would you want to tell us? What is your inheritance that you want to leave for the younger generation? And they only look back and say, do what you want to do and do it now. They will tell you, don't you think I want to climb this mountain today? I want to, but I cannot because my physical capabilities do not allow me to do so. And that conversation with one of the uncles long time ago, I can't even remember how many years ago, he's no more, God bless his soul, kind of struck a chord. And I'm like, oh my goodness, this is now. And you can see how the world is changing and shifting, with the natural calamities hitting all the time. Of course, now the war hanging on our heads. We don't know what is there tomorrow. So the urgency has to be there for everything. I'm not just suggesting travel per se, but to learn, to grow, to, develop more skills. I think that has to be, that ignition has to be there on a ready button all the time. Yeah.
I love what you said about having that ignition, and Mala said also doing it now, but I feel, so I have done research. Okay. I'm here with a lot of research with me. And when I spoke to a lot of women who wanted to travel, or, they seemed to be waiting for something to happen. In fact, there were few people I met who said they waited for a big shift to plan that destination travel, to plan that dream travel. There were few people who waited for, not waited, but actually there's something that happened in their life, that there was a relationship problem, there was parting of ways, there were people who had lost their partners, and they waited for that to be able to go on that journey on their own. Sometimes, people found inspiration from people like all of you, to get that spark. Okay, I must do it now. And they were waiting for that spark, waiting for somebody to tell them, do it now. Then they would plan the travel. And then, like Mala mentioned, just there was a lot of burnout and it had to be done. I'm wondering if there were any other reasons that you have come across. Snehal might have also come across, where people just decide to go on the travel. They just decide that I have to do it now.
I think you're right, Madhuri. I know of 3 individuals who have made it. They took purposeful travel, and in fact, they took such a change in the shift that you mentioned, because one was hit by life-threatening disease, and that was it. And she was like, "Oh my goodness, what next?" And she quit her job in Singapore, and she is now settled in Europe, one of the countries. And she's an English teacher, so it was, so she literally left her home. The kids were old enough to be on their own. The husband was fine, and then she's like, "Okay, this is it. I want to take a break." And she traveled across continents to, just do what she wanted to do. Yeah, the question is, should we really wait for all that? Actually, that is why.
If you're not waiting for it, then what would trigger it? I think somewhere it all comes down to the awareness of, or more than awareness, I think it's about self-love, of saying that, okay, even I deserve it and I can do this as well. I think somewhere when we are very young, during our school days and college days, it's easier for us to say, I want this and I'll just go and do it. And then we again fall into that frame, which is knowingly or unknowingly, though we were a rebel at one point in time. I know I definitely was a rebel, in school days, or the black sheep, or the sheep of the family kind of thing. But when I got married, I don't know how I again fell into that frame, knowingly or unknowingly. I started making decisions depending on, will he like, will she like, will they approve, and there was no challenge. Okay, for my own discovery, I realized that everyone was like, no, you never said you wanted to go. Now you want to go, just go. However, because of probably what I had seen in the past, or how I'd seen my mom take actions or make decisions, I waited until one fine day, it ended up being, okay, I'm going to just go. And I'm telling you, even at that moment, somewhere I was waiting for that approval, saying, I hope everyone says yes, and there's no one who's disappointed by me just taking a trip for fun. Okay, there is nothing that has happened. There's nothing that has gone wrong. I don't need a break from anything. I just want to do this because I want to do this. Okay. So more than other people's acceptance, I think we're so worried about accepting ourselves in this journey of doing things. Like even a trip to a parlor. I think that's one of the conversations we're having even last week in our in our episode. If I have to even do like a simple manicure pedicure thing, and I know that it's a break day, but something else comes up somewhere, that guilt creeps in. Did I make the right choice? Did I leave someone alone, or did I not do things that I was supposed to do? So I think there is somewhere we're waiting for that push, which is either an external push or an internal push. When something goes wrong, we're left with no choice but to change an environment, and then we make these bigger decisions, which we call, and therefore the words then start getting importance. And I keep coming back because I don't know, you triggered a thought there, Gauri, about solo travel is not really a solo travel. When you're traveling, and if you choose to take that trip, it's a beautiful journey.
Yeah.
Okay. That I actually was talking to Madhuri, and I thought I didn't take any solo travels until date, and then I thought I did the movie. But now that I think about it, I think it was year 2005 when I had never been to a train station, and I decided to sit in a train and do a 24-hour travel, because the train to Bangalore at that point in time was 24 hours from Pune. Okay. And I have no idea how I did it, but I did it. But the motivation was the end goal of reaching and meeting someone. And that travel was easier. Okay. But now that I think about it, I don't know if I'll do it now very quickly because of so many things. But yeah, I think we wait for that push. We wait
I think when
for
you talk about episodes in my travel life, being comfortable in being so-called not comfortable. I just came down from Argentina. I was there for a month. I hike and trek as well, so I was there climbing some mountains, and it was a solo trip without any agenda. And we were put it in a tent, and I mean that was a choice that I was going to be staying in a tent, and I was with, say, 4 men, strangers, in a tent over a period of 7 straight days, with no shower and the stench of your body odor or whatever. So I know people raise eyebrows and they're like, why would you want to put yourself in a situation like that? Why would you want to know? But I think as a human being, you need to go through these episodes or journeys. As much as you like to do your manicures and pedicures and take care of your external beauty, we are actually not looking inwards. There's so much to validate within you, and like I said, you come back so much richer. And you kind of you close the dots. Actually, this, it's like a full-on experience that Mala, I think you being a coach will be able to verbalize it much better than what I'm doing. But you come back as a wholesome human being, and you appreciate your life and your relationships so much more. I really appreciate my husband more when I saw these men being literally, whatever they were. So I have no complaints when I come back.
Yeah, I know what you mean, Gauri. I think, what the thing is, it doesn't have to be coming from a place of challenge. In fact, it should be, life doesn't stop happening. And, responsibilities are always there. We're always needed here and there and in every direction. I think this is how much are we going to put this as a priority? We see a lot of students, they take a gap year, or they have gardening leave or whatever when they're, going between jobs. And they decide to go on a trek or a hike, or they go and travel to Mexico, wherever. And there's such learning there. So is that desire innate in us? Is that the desire? Can we go from being pushed by a challenge or pressures or burnout to, I simply desire this for myself. I want to see more. I want to explore more. I want to see more of the world. I want to see beautiful spaces and places and meet different people, open my mind. And if it comes from there, I think there is such richness in it. And I think that we owe that. And as you said, Gauri, we come back, richer. And I think when you look after yourselves, as they always say on a flight, put on your own oxygen mask first before anyone else. I think this is also about taking care of yourself and doing what needs to be done.
From a taking care of yourself point of view, I think I validate what Mala is saying. This actually being on your own is the first step to, knowing yourself even deeper. You will surprise yourself actually. Snehal, if you go back to that same journey, you'll surprise yourself because you'll do better than what you did last time. you know.
Absolutely. And it's also about the journey itself that surprises you. Like when you end up like small things, tiny things, getting into the train, which is absolutely full, you feel, oh my God, can I do it? And then that feeling of, oh my God, I actually did it. Or small things like, you go looking for an address and you find it all by yourself, and I'm talking about days when GPS didn't exist that much and you had to literally go hunting places, walk yourself to figure it out. And even I'm coming back to the word of richness, it adds so much more to who you are. You see more, you value more, like small things, like even watching the shades of green when you're walking by the road and you're doing that alone. I think there is so much more that we take in. And we come back, as you said, so much more richer, that there is so much gratitude and appreciation for what we have. Even the appreciation for the bed that we always make every single day has so much more value when you stay away from it for 2 to 3 days or even a
And
week
the
or more.
mistakes you make, you will stumble because you might miss a flight, or
Yeah.
you might not have packed something that you really needed. You may miss your passport bag at home and you have to take a U-turn for that. I don't know, you end up in a motel that actually is a very shady place and you're like, oh gosh, okay, what do I do now, kind of a thing. Your car breaks down on the way. There's so many learnings at every step through your mistakes
Yeah,
also.
I think the learnings is another very important word, because through that journey that you make on your own, you actually see a little bit more of yourself. You see different dimensions of yourself. You see different parts of yourself. You discover yourself a little bit more, and that then helps you, handle things maybe differently when you come back and you're in your usual zone. So I think that another perspective to this is also part of me just gives you that extra strength, and it should be completely guilt-free. These trips should have no negative emotion attached to them.
On that note, I have a question for everyone. No guilt free, nothing, right? So there must be one memorable travel experience that you would have had. Now to start with Mala, what is that one fun experience or memorable experience or unforgettable one?
So the one I can think of was actually about 3 or 4 years back, when I actually went somewhere completely on my own. And it was a 1-week trip. I came back making 20 friends and we're still in touch. So that was like, the intention was to go alone, be alone for that 1 week. But there was a different kind of bonding, which is another beautiful part of going on these trips, because you meet people that you don't normally meet out of your circle. And that again opens up your mind to so more. So that's a trip I think I'll never forget, because we still keep in touch.
Lovely. I think for me, it's more about pre-planning when you're going ahead. So, I go to very remote places and safety is paramount. So pre-planning is something that is very crucial, starting from something to do with self-defense, starting from your insurance coverage, ensuring that people are aware of where you are at what point. So that all, I think I put more precedence on planning the process itself than reaching the destination. So I was going to Africa. Now that I've been there many times, but the first time I ever went there, I don't know, 22 years ago, was I was like, okay, should I take a kidnapping insurance? And there you go, on you actually have kidnapping as covered under insurance, and I was quite surprised that okay, this is interesting. So I think that part of taking before you take the journey is something that I've always enjoyed, and I cannot remember per se any particular incident, but yeah, you will get a lot of men that will hit on you, and that's when you need to know how to sort of have that aura of that, saying, nope, I'm just here for something very different and not essentially for what you think or that perception that you might be getting. So yeah, a lot of people label you, when start traveling a lot. Oh, I wonder she's not happy in her marriage, maybe, or she's just running away, or I don't know what her problem is, So you hear all these kind of things, and you're like, you know what? I don't at the end of it pay heed much to people's perceptions. You do what you do, and that gets stronger. And that's how my social enterprise came about as well. That was because friends started to say, we want to do what you are doing. And I'm like, it's not going to be easy, girl. So they're like, no, you want to do it. I say, okay, fine, let's train. So keeping fit is very crucial. I'm just saying this because you might have to walk for hours, and don't want to fall sick in the middle of your journey and all that. So attention to details is what is crucial to me. Yeah, as a traveler.
Uh, I I feel so connected with what you're saying because planning is not my thing. Okay, I either do it or I just don't do it. And that's where, again, a lot of planning actually is something that got inculcated in my lifestyle because of travels. Like, even if my purses or bags during my college days wouldn't have anything that I needed important, okay, it would probably have a pen and paper, that is for sure, which I'm surprised about. That was my regular, but anything in case of emergency would never be in my bag. Versus today, even if I'm going like stepping out just to go to the mall where I know everything is available, I still have the basics. And I think that's what travel teaches you a lot. For me, travel has always been, a bag of surprises which has told me more about me. Like once I was taking this trip from Raipur to Bhilai, and I had to travel. It was a cab drive that I was supposed to take. I had booked a cab. It was a regular thing for me going from Raipur to Bhilai. But on the way back, right in the middle of nowhere, and it's national highway, his car broke down, and I have no freaking idea. Should I trust this man or no? And there is no network. There is just no network. Phones in those days, and I'm talking about year 2008, 9. Okay. So it wasn't this 4G network or having, video call options. None of that existed. So how do I handle myself in that situation? I realized in that moment. Otherwise, I'm a person who, if you just raise your voice, say something, I would just cry within seconds. I was surprised to myself how I managed myself for those 45 minutes until he went, said, ma'am, I'm going to go. I'm going to get this tire fixed. Are you sure you will stand here alone? Or you can walk with me? And I said, no, I will stand here alone. You go. Because somewhere in my mind, there was this doubt, yeah, where are you taking me, And I don't know, will he find something in those 30 minutes? He did come back in 45 minutes, but in those 45 minutes, what went through my mind and how I handled myself and how I chose not to break down was a huge surprise to me. It made me realize that I manage crisis much better than what I think. And it's easier for me to, just solve a little very quickly when someone raises their voice versus actually being in those situations tells us so much about how strong we are. So for me, those tiny little, here and there experiences actually taught me a lot. Once I had changed a flight ticket, there was an emergency, and the other lady really wanted to reach somebody at her home, was not feeling well. And we wanted to interchange the tickets. Okay. Somewhere in my mind, I had that fear, am I doing the right thing? Because I've already told everyone at home that I will be there by 10 p.m. and I was going to reach the airport by midnight, and we didn't have phones in those days. Like not everybody at home had phones. You had to only call landline. And that risk of just switching our plan without telling anyone also teaches so much about, okay, how am I going to handle myself? What am I going to do? Walking from the airport until that taxi, guy, and telling him where you're going to go and trusting him to take you home safe and sound. Somewhere teaches you so many things in the background, which I think shows up in, your daily conversations and so on. And people just wonder, how do you do it? But there is so much that we learn in those 45 minutes drive or 30 minutes drive or that 10 minutes of, difficult situation. So I have had some amazing trips. I've always been blessed to be, safe. But yeah, I think
adding on to Mala's, the friendship or the kind of people you meet. I think if you emit the right energy, you do attract the kind of energy as well. So, Snehal, I guess when you were sure about staying put, when the situation asked you to, that sort of created that energy around you. That person must have said you are serious about what you're doing, and you're not, yeah. So yeah, you meet plenty people. You may keep in touch, you may not keep in touch, but I think that exchange that happens in that period that you're together is again so much, to learn from. There's so much, there are so many jobs that I had no idea existed ever. And you meet this person who studies rocks or who does in between. You're like, okay, so it's interesting. Yeah. And you have so much of empathy that you kind of, so I had recently on my way back from Sao Paulo, there was a miners coming back to Doha, and they were going back to Philippines after 7 months of being in wherever, in the wilderness. And this person was completely in a very shabby state, and you could tell from the skin that he's been outside. And he was very quiet, and he wouldn't even switch on the TV. And he just, because I guess they live in isolation for so long, they don't know how to really react to a lot of things. And he was trying to look outside the window, and I'm a very window person. So to give up a window seat for me is like a big thing. But I actually allowed him to take my seat, and I could see the smile on his face, the color change, to just enjoy from the very height. Because you see, imagine this human being has been inside the mine in this darkness, shadow for the longest time. And over time, I had a conversation with him. He was telling me he has young kids and how money is an issue, so they have to go far, far away. So yeah, you get you're so empathetic, and you become cunning as well at the same time, because you don't want that person to take advantage of you. I was just repeating this episode the other day to a friend on, I can read looking at the tellers on the what do you call, at the airport, which guy or which person will allow me to take extra 20 kgs. I'm like, no, not that much. That much. Yes, let's do it. Let's get some action there. And yeah, we spoke, it just actually happens. So you become intelligent in many ways that you didn't even know you actually are. Yeah.
Absolutely. And all of you touched upon some important aspect, that is safety, being fit, and just having that sixth sense really alert. And Gauri, I know next time who to take with me to the airport. So, but in all these learnings, I'm just wondering, why is this safety and safest destinations for women to travel so important? I mean,
I think it's not just for women. I think for this, I think it is for anyone and everyone, because with my husband traveling so much, I know there are times when we have had these discussions where he's chosen, what goes in his wallet and what doesn't. And when I ask him, it's like, this time the area that I'm going to stay in is going to be like this. So, the way they prepare themselves is also similar. I think it's just that we are a little vocal about when we have to speak about security and safety, when they do it silently. But I think any unknown zone, it is about feeling safe. Okay. It is even about a new home that you would move into. And first few days, we don't feel safe enough until we really feel safe. So I think it's about the comfort zone rather than anything else. It's the fear of the unknown that makes us worry about the safety.
Yeah, I think it's also about being sensible. I mean, even if you're not traveling, but you're in your own city and you're on a dark street in the middle of the night, and you're returning from somewhere, you're going to try and avoid that sort of dark street which is empty and take the main road where there's some traffic and some people. So obviously it's about also being very sensible in what you do. I think it's that. And that goes for anything. That's life. You have to be sensible and look at safety somewhere.
I think doing a little bit of study of wherever you're heading is good. Learning the language sometimes it helps as well. Just a few hello, hi words, I'm from here, that kind of a thing. It just breaks the ice initially, and of course they understand that you're not local or whatever. And just, it helps to blend in a little bit. So yeah, you need to have a few tricks up your sleeves. I think I have come to a place where my husband has no idea what I'm doing. Frankly, he just knows my exit point and my entry point, and he has no idea. I'm not even kidding. And he's like, so when are you back? Are you back? Okay, fine, you're back. Okay, go back. So it's really at that stage right now. And I'm not a person who says no. Mala will disagree with that. And I know coaches try to tell you don't agree to everything, but I don't say no. So if somebody in a travel says, hey, you know what, we're going to this place and there's a hot spring there. Would you like to jump in the car? I'm like, yeah, sure, let's do it. So I'm a risk taker because I think that belief is in me that I know I'm going to come back safe. And, yeah. And of course, when you're traveling, your kit so Snehal was saying that in your bag or something, you need to have certain items that kind of, from a bear spray or a pepper spray or something that you need to know how to use, kind of thing. So
But
being
I think I agree with your point, Gauri, it is about what we set our intentions for the travel as well. If I know that I'm going to be safe, and if I believe in the fact that I'm always protected and safe, the way I go through that tour or trip and travel and how I handle myself is very different than the way I would, take action when I am not that confident. And I think I've seen that one of the things where I feel many of us stay back and choose not to do it because, uh, what holds them back is, I don't know if I'm safe. I don't know if it's the right thing to do. What if anything happens to me? And that keeps them holding back so much. And if you look at the stories when they take that one-off trip or they decide to take it, they always have experience of things that went wrong more than the things that went right. But then it is about the intention. It is about how you feel within you and are you feeling safe yourself. So I think it comes down to that. So I'm not a risk taker for sure. I would analyze but I'm highly intuitive. So I just know when I have to say yes, and when I say no, it's a no. However, somewhere I believe that you wouldn't know or you wouldn't train your gut to speak to you until you've actually done it. I think it's our experiences which tells us, as Mara said, when you want to walk down that street, which is dark, and at times when you're like, okay, I think I can just go. There's still one light long, far away, but I can still see and I will walk. So there are times when we make those choices. So it does come down to our energy and our intention as well. I don't know. Mala, you have also traveled a lot. You've traveled to 9 different countries, and Gauri, I can't even count the travels you have done. So what do you say, Mala? Do you think there is something to this?
I think, yes, gut intuition plays a role in every single part of our lives, And the thing is, the more you enjoy what you're doing, the more you're going to listen to your gut because it's not hindered and obstructed by anything else. So yeah, I think I'm somewhere between a risk taker and I am a planner. I've become more of a risk taker, and I think it's absolutely fine. That's the whole point of life. Do what you like to do. So I think it's a question of finding that middle ground. And as you let yourself fly freely, your gut, your intuition, you sort of, because all the chatter stops and you start listening. And so that's something valid, Snehal. I do agree with it. However, you're taking action steps to being sensible. Even when we go somewhere, sometimes you want to know where's the closest hospital, or where's a doctor? Does the hotel have someone if I need this? It's just being sensible, not being paranoid about it, but just doing the basics really is what's necessary there.
I think the other point I really want to bring forward is traveling on your own expense. So that is something very crucial because that gives you the freedom to do what you want to do. If you can't afford a business class, that's fine. Go by economy, it doesn't really, or if you can't live there are so many options out there for budget travel as well. But when you are doing it on your own, in your own money, you kind of have ownership to what you want to do. And because then you're not guilty of spending somebody else's hard-earned money, and you don't have to check back, can I not use extra things. So I think that independence of holding your own credit card is important. Yeah.
Such a beautiful point, having that independence, right? And Gauri, I think earlier we touched upon this fact that there are younger women or younger girls who are traveling, who are taking that travel on their own. And it's very funny. I mentioned this to my daughter that I would like to travel solo someday. And she was like, what? You haven't done it before? I'm going to do it, I'm going to go to college and I'm going to start traveling on my own. I was like, okay, fine. So, I mean, it's now getting ingrained in these generations that they are going to do it. It's just given, right? But so interesting, and you come back richer with a lot of stories to tell. And I think Brahmaputra is one of my destinations which I want to go to. We have, I have told stories about Brahmaputra River, and I want to go and see it. And then I feel that when I come back, I'll be so much richer with more stories to tell about the river and about the travel.
Just think of yourself as an 85, 90-year-old woman. When you look back at your life and like, what did I do? That's it.
I love that. So who's going where next?
Yeah, who's going where?
Are we starting with you, Madhuri? You just, so
Yeah,
what
Brahm-
location you gave?
I'm going to go to the northeastern states of India. I've
Oh,
never been
beautiful.
there before, so I want to see them. Yeah.
Mala?
So travel was such a problem in the last couple of years. And as everything's opened up, my first thing was to go and travel, see my family, see my children live in London and Singapore. And so my whole year is so blocked already with so much travel. I haven't really, which is really to London, Singapore, to see them. I haven't really put in where I want to go, but I don't know. I haven't been to Australia. I've lived in like across continents. I've lived in 9 countries from Europe, Switzerland, France. I've lived in Beirut. I was born in Beirut, grew up in Libya, lived in Nigeria, live in Bombay. I have lived in London. I think Australia is somewhere I would love to go.
You must go for a month at least. So I have taken a different shift in my life journey now. I'm taking people on travels. So there's a whole list of places that we want to explore. And of course, the challenge part, there are service trips as well. So we do give back to society. So there are turtle conservations, we go to elephant conservations, we go to women's, related issues where we want to tackle that as well. So every trip has some kind of giving back aspect to it. So yeah, I'm taking people to a lot of places, and hopefully through that they will find their wings. As an individual, I don't know actually. There's so many places. I don't have a bucket list. I don't believe in bucket lists. Like I said, if tomorrow I think, hey, I'm just going to take off to Turkey, I'm going to take off to Turkey, kind of a thing. So I really don't have a bucket list. Been to many places. I don't know really. Yeah. So whatever comes across, I'm going to US for my son's graduation soon. So that's immediate travel. But Malaysia next weekend for a hike. Madhuri, come. Yeah.
Your Annapurna base camp is done, right? That's like a check mark.
There's another one lined up again for October. So part 2, yes. So I go to places again and again as well. So this would be my 3rd trip to Annapurna if that happens.
Wonderful. And Snehal, where are you going next?
I have very small hopes of just reaching Kerala. It has been on my to-do list forever, and it is just not happening. So that is my goal for 2022. I'm at least going to visit it, irrelevant of what weather it is, because I think I don't believe anymore if weather is good or bad, because there is no more weather concept left. Things are changing. So Kerala is there on my list just because it has been on my list. I want to just get it ticked, but rest is pretty much like you got it. It all depends on what triggers what, and then I'm just like, okay, let's do it, or that's about it. But I'm glad we had this interesting conversation, because there's so many things that we actually don't speak about. I don't remember me having this conversation with anyone actually telling, what I'm really thinking when I'm packing the bag, or booking that ticket. And sometimes even with the families, we choose not to share some scary incidents like that car breaking down and telling them, this happened, because I know next time they're going to remind me 10 times about it. I would just not, talk about it, because I know it comes from a space of care and worry, but then it just adds to our butterflies that are already there in the stomach to just aggravate a little bit more. So it's great to speak about things that we generally don't. And somewhere it gives us that hope and space. Like, I'm super excited to, go back to my little bit of browsing and deciding, okay, where do I want to go next? So that's for sure. Anything else anyone else wants to add? Madhuri, tell me what you're thinking as well.
I'm thinking that, this entire conversation about travel, about the richness of experiences, I'm sure it has triggered a lot of thoughts to whoever is listening. And certainly for me, it has. Even speaking about the fears that people have, that I have while traveling to destinations, or even coming up with with this entire research about the real reasons why people want to travel or don't travel. um, I feel it has made me richer today, just in my mind, traveling with all of you to the wonderful places and hearing about the different stories that you all told. In my mind, I went to South America with Gauri. In my mind, I went to London with Mala. In my mind, I'm already thinking about what fun I had in Kerala. So certainly a great experience it was today, and I'm very happy we had this conversation.
Yes, and super grateful, Gauri and Mala, that you took the time to join us. I know it was pretty last minute for you guys to join us, but thank you for making it, because you've added so much value and validation to what we're talking about by sharing your journeys and uh, just being yourself, to be very honest, and not having that filter in the conversations. We really wanted to make sure this is an absolutely filter-free conversation. So thank you. Anything you guys want to say?
I just want to say is that I think everyone at some point in their life should do a trip on their own, even if it's just a long weekend, even if it's just a weekend. But I think that and it could be just, in your own country. It could just be going away somewhere, out of town. And I think, Snehal, you will love Kerala. That was the big solo trip that first one that I took. That was 2 weeks long. I had gone to Kerala, and I think you will love it. So have fun.
Thank you.
Yeah, I think adding on to Snehal and Madhuri's point of you having that somebody to talk to, or the confidants that you need to have. Yeah, definitely in your own circle you do have people, but you'll surprise yourself when you're in a situation. You do tend to be transparent with whoever is around you. So there was an incident where I started my chums, my periods, and I had nobody else, but there was this guy. I'm like, you know what, get me that freaking pad right now, because I need you to do it for me. And you just let go of these inhibitions actually. So you need to put yourself in spaces where you can know yourself better, and that is definitely taking a journey. Start small, it's okay. You can go watch a movie alone. I can go with you. I can sit in that corner. You can sit in that corner and be alone. But yeah, so starting small definitely, and taking the big steps. Yep, and you got it then. The world is your playground.
Yes, absolutely. And we're here to see the world, and we can do it now is the message. We don't wait for something to happen. Do it now. Do it when your heart tells you to. Do it in a planned way. Do it impromptu, and just do it. Right?
Right.
Yes.
Right. Thank you so much for this conversation, Gauri and
Thank
Mala.
you.
Thank you very much. Thank
Very,
you.
very happy to contribute. Thank you so much, Madhuri, Snehal. Mala, lovely to meet you. Next time you're in Singapore, look us up.
I will, for sure.
Thank you guys, and we will see you next week for another episode. We'll let you know what the episode is in a day or two, but until then, let us know what you felt about this conversation, and if you have decided on taking a trip to any location that you're thinking about, let us know. Let us know how you felt about these conversations, and if you want a topic that you want us to talk about or cover. So we're looking forward to your feedback, and thank you for all the amazing wishes that Madhuri and I received the moment we started posting about this series, because that was an overwhelming response for both of us, and actually motivated us to do the conversation that we did today with all the energy that we have here. So thank you for all of that, and we'll see you next Tuesday, same time, 4 p.m. Indian Standard Time. Thank you.
Thank you.
We don't talk about.
Yes.
Thank you so much. Thank you.